It is exactly 1 year since the first case of COVID-19 infection was confirmed in Cameroon. 1 year after government has led a steady fight to halt the spread of the disease and has time to step up the fight. In less than 48 hours to the International Women's Day, women in the 10 different regions have been organizing workshops and other activities to observe the day, absent the usual popular celebration. The Minister of Women's Empowerment and the Family will be our guest in this newscast. Welcome to Studio 5. I am Benen Bumagana. This is the 7:30 News.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
Once again, good evening and welcome. Today marks 1 year since the first case of COVID-19 was confirmed in Cameroon. Over the year, the Prime Minister held weekly coordination meetings. A solidarity fund was created by the President of the Republic, and a budget of 180 billion francs formed the bedrock of the fight against COVID-19. Star Building correspondent Christian Che Atam presents an overview of the government's struggle to contain the COVID-19 pandemic over the last 12 months.
Once it became clear that COVID-19 was becoming an issue in Cameroon in the month of March 2020, the government engaged a series of measures to contain the pandemic. The first major protection policy was the institution of a series of restrictive measures to curb the spread of COVID-19. The measures pronounced by Prime Minister Joseph John-Goute on the 17th of March 2020 and on the instructions of the President of the Republic included the closure of the country's borders, the suspension of schools and universities, the prohibition of large gatherings, and the wearing of masks in public spaces. An interministerial committee to monitor the government's response strategy, presided by Prime Minister Joseph John-Goute, held weekly meetings to address the situation. The 2020 state budget was revised and 180 billion allocated to the COVID Solidarity Fund created by the President of the Republic to help fund epidemiological follow-up, the setting up of distance learning in schools and institutions, and support to the economy. On the 30th of April, with encouraging signs observed in the evolution of the pandemic in Cameroon, the Prime Minister introduced easing measures which allowed the hospitality industry to function beyond 6 p.m. and students in examination classes eventually resumed and completed their academic year. During 1 year of struggle against COVID-19, the government has set up isolation units and specialized treatment centers, used a treatment protocol made up of chloroquine and azithromycin, encouraged products of African traditional pharmacopoeia, and implemented the track, test, and treat policy. All the efforts and policies paid off as life returned to normal, and Cameroon was cited amongst the countries to have handled the pandemic in the best possible way. Schools, businesses, and social activities returned to normal on the understanding that basic protection measures like the washing of hands, the wearing of masks, and the respect of distancing would be respected.
The respect of anti-COVID-19 measures is steadily regaining essence in public administration in Yaoundé. Persons coming into these public buildings and offices are compelled to put on their face mask and wash their hands before seeking any service. Romeo Kenny visited some of these public administrative buildings and brought back this report.
There is no room for laxity in public offices. The coronavirus is a common enemy and must be put at bay. The Ministry of Public Health set the example. Its environs have been disinfected and no one is allowed access in its premises without bound to anti-COVID-19 prescribed measures.
The head of the department is very conscious of the fact that we need to protect ourselves, to protect others by respecting all the barrier measures.
Hand washing and obligatory wearing of face masks alongside hand sanitizers are the principal fundamental requirements at the Ministry of Economy, Planning and Regional Development. But the security year always on Kviv affirms it hasn't been an easy task dealing with stiff resistance from some visitors.
When people come here, I insist they wear their face mask and also respect physical distancing. Not everyone likes respecting the rules, but they have no choice.
Returning to the usual anti-COVID-19 measures translates government's strong commitment in protecting denizens against the deadly virus nationwide.
Romeo Kenya also visited some markets and other popular spots in Yaoundé and tells us that while the respect for barrier measures against COVID-19 is gaining steam in public administrations, many petty traders still do not wear their mask or even wash their hands. His report.
A large population at the Yaoundé Central Market. Evident, the physical distancing measure of the COVID-19 pandemic is a far-fetched dream. But effort of putting on a face mask at least isn't totally ignored. Shop owners have made it a dual duty for workers and clients.
When you put on a mask, at least you are being protected from being infected by the coronavirus.
As exemplary citizens, some have braved the odds, imposing the consistent hand-washing fundamentals as prerequisite to outsmarting coronavirus propagation.
I have my own sanitizer in the house that I'm using in the house. In the market, we use it normally because why? We collect money from customers, and immediately we collect money, we need to use that hand sanitizer because we don't know how many people have touched the money.
Some of them are responding positively about the barriers we are putting in place. But others are just washing inside and making whatever they want to do, then they'll go.
In a nutshell, many are aware to cripple the deadly virus in public spaces. The battle begins at the individual level.
So talking about COVID, the Chantal Biya International Reference Center has taken the battle against HIV/AIDS, COVID-19 and hepatitis to the borders. A team of experts led by the Director General of the center, Professor Alexis Njolo, has begun a two-day sensitization and screening campaign in Mekoto village in Minton subdivision with a call for the youths to bar the way to the dangerous disease at their level. Pontianos Lawong reports.
The Ocean Division is the epicenter of the propagation of the COVID-19 pandemic in the South region, with the town of Crtv yet to be the focus. Out of the 1,101 positive cases in the region, the Ocean Division alone counts roughly 400 positive cases. The governor of the South region, during a working visit with the divisional task force, prescribed the reinforcement of barrier measures.
I want the SDO, the DOs of Ocean Division to be on the front line to curb this pandemic. We want that every location, every venue where people are gathered should be an occasion to sensitize the people against the pandemic, because this pandemic is real.
As at now, 275 patients have been healed, with 3 deaths recorded in the ocean. Governor Felix Ngelengele told the committee members to intensify sensitization campaigns with a door-to-door approach. This will help reduce the spread of the pandemic.
In a build-up to the celebration of the International Women's Day on Monday, female lawyers in Yaoundé have been discussing possible solutions to challenges faced by women in their profession. The discussions were under the theme Equality, Rights, Quest, Conquest and Perspective. Sidonie Jopmamdi followed the debates and now reports.
Challenges faced by female lawyers in their profession was at the center of discussions during the seminar organized to commemorate the 36th edition of the International Women's Day in Yaoundé.
When we talk about the women in the bar and Cameroon female lawyers, they go through a lot of challenges, and the aim of this training was also to find out exactly what are the challenges as women, as female lawyers, do we face at the bar, and how do we overcome these obstacles. Young lawyers, how do we also mentor them in terms of moving ahead?
Experts in the domains of digital law, health law, and tourism law were invited to share their expertise and bring up possible solutions to some problems faced by female lawyers in these different fields.
We'll constantly be organizing training on specific domain of law that will empower the woman to do her job well, so that when a woman presents herself, they'll not just say she's beautiful. No, they should say she has a brain.
Senior female lawyers also used the opportunity to examine some difficulties faced by young female lawyers at the beginning of their practice.
In more than 30 years since the world took commitments to promote gender equality, the distance covered by women in decision-making spheres is set to be relatively very short. In Cameroon, women are conspicuously absent in key posts in local governance, with less than a quarter of the seats in Senate and Parliament. The number of female cabinet ministers is still very low and below desired levels. Beatrice Losamba in the following report explains the obstacles to achieving gender equality.
Women activists say the distance covered to achieving gender equality is far below their dreams.
Every year we have a progress for some things and we have regrets for other things. And when we talk about progress, we can talk about education. We have more women in education progress. We have the improvement of women's health.
We have close to 63 ministries in Cameroon, but only 11 are women.
In 360 councils, they count 35 mayors. No woman is a city mayor.
We have 10 regional presidents and we don't have any woman.
To worsen an already bad situation, women occupy only 26 out of the 100 Senate seats. They make up 31% of parliament. To date, no woman stands as a presidential hopeful. With a favorable legal framework to count on, the blame is put on some cultural and institutional as well as religious barriers. Activists appeal to the highest authority for change.
The President of the Republic, who has a lot of power in his hand to improve that statistics.
We are yet to get to that point where our country realizes that male and female are like two wings of a plane.
The road might still be long to achieve gender equality, but the gender actors say they are not discouraged just yet.
And as we told you at the very start, our guest today is the Minister of Women's Empowerment and the Family, Professor Marie-Thérèse Abena-Ondua. Good evening, ma'am, and welcome to the 7:30 News.
Good evening, thank you.
Let us just start with the last report you followed there by Beatrice Losamba talking about the number of women. Few women are already up, and it is an encouragement for more women to work hard, to come up.
Yes, I think we are moving up gradually. I would just like to maybe take into consideration the change in the National Assembly, where we now have 61 female parliamentarians out of 180. And it is in the next to last legislature that we had 56, that made the 31% they were talking about. Okay. So now we have moved to 33.3%. We have reached the minimum of 30%, but the aim is to reach 50%.
And that is surely going to happen. Let's talk about this year. This year's theme of the International Women's Day is achieving an equal future in the COVID-19 world. COVID and then women at the center, Madam Minister.
Yes, I think it is extremely important to integrate the fact that COVID-19 is very much with us. It is not a dream, it is not fake news, it is a reality. And the progress, the promises made to improve the representation of women should not be hampered by the COVID-19 pandemic. It is also extremely important to know that women can play a key role in the fight against this pandemic. And so what can they do? First of all, the woman is the person that gives life. She's the first educator at home, and she can educate at home. She's a member of a community. She can educate, sensitize in the community. She can educate, sensitize within her groups, and at large really be a vehicle of the different messages being promoted for the fight against this pandemic. I'm talking about barrier measures. And this woman is also capable of contributing better by even producing those barrier tools like the sewing of face masks, respecting the norms, and the production of soap bars and liquid soap, as well as hydroalcoholic solutions. And those are a few of the things. Now, you will ask me, this COVID-19 pandemic, what impact has it had on the women? A very negative impact, because when it came, we had almost a lockdown, and a lot of economic activities were stopped almost, and they lost financially. And we saw children not going to school, and not enough means being available. And we saw an increase in violence at home, because the families were there, the children were just in the house, and the means were not there to feed. So we saw an increase in violence in the homes, and they became poorer and poorer. Luckily, and with the measures put in place, we were capable of overturning it. Unfortunately, when things were, the severity of the measures was reduced, there was a relaxation, generalized relaxation, which is leading to what we are living today, right now. But women can play an extremely important role and in the limitation of the spread of coronavirus, and we are a couple of days before March 8th.
Very well. And just talking about, the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, that is the very reason why on the 8th of March, we're not going to get the march past and the usual popular celebration. How does it feel, Madam Minister, at a moment like this, that the women will not be able to, above everything, show that at least they are happy?
I think that should not have come as a surprise, because for the past month and a half, I think the Minister of Public Health has been communicating the figures. And it would have been a dream to think that in 2021 we will have a huge celebration. I would like to stress that we were extremely fortunate last year to celebrate March 8th. And March 8th was the last big celebration held nationwide. No May 1st, no May 20th, no New Year wishes, and more recently, no Youth Day celebrations. So it was a dream to think that we could have had March 8th month past. Now that it is reality, I think it's also a way of everyone, all the women of this country, to integrate the existence of the pandemic. And to really know that they have to play an extremely important role to limit the spread. March 8th, the March Past was a means of them to communicate, to be together, to dance, to feast. And when the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya, has taken that decision not to have the March Past, I think it is an awareness raising that we should integrate it. Now, it is a bit disappointing to not have it, but at the same time, this is our contribution to really let all Cameroonians know that this disease is a reality. Now, March 8th is not just March Past, dining and whining. This theme is really calling upon each one of us to do a lot of things. You know, female leadership, this is an occasion for all of us to really go into it and see what progress has been made. And some progress had been made, but more still need to be made. And you cannot really see how far we want to go if we don't have a basis analysis. There is an exhibition in the National Museum by the National Assembly. More exhibitions will take place in different areas. Now, talking about leadership. They mentioned about ministerial positions held by women. I would like to say that, yes, the number is still low, but you should remember that women were basically in social ministries. But you have ministers, Ministry of Post and Telecommunications, which is headed by a woman, Minister of Scientific Research and Innovation, the minister delegate in charge of audit, Supreme State Audit, is a female, and you have the ministry before in the past, the Minister of Domains and the Land Tenure was held by a woman. We also have the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. So we have some key ministries that are now in the hands of women. I'm not going to go into all the areas, but the number of female ministers is low, yes, but I think we are going to improve. It will improve progressively. But we should know that some key ministries, which were traditionally held by men, have now been given to women, and I think those women are defending themselves. I'm not saying that social ministries are not useful. Yeah. They are extremely useful. Education is extremely important. Social affairs is important. Women's empowerment and the family are important. So,
Madam Minister, so how are you going to spend Monday? Monday, how will your day be?
My day will be, it will be March 8th. And I'm planning to have, to communicate with the women to really let them understand that the March Past is not the only thing that we have to do for March 8th. Okay. We have to think of the theme and see how we can improve on the leadership and integrate that coronavirus is here with us. We should all do, women in particular, they should do everything to limit the spread through sensitization in their different communities, at home, in the village, in the Njangi meetings and what have you. So they have a role to play, and No March Past is a big signal that it is a reality, and each woman should play a role to stop the spread of coronavirus.
Thank you very much. We're talking there to the Minister of Women's Empowerment and the Family, Professor Marie-Thérèse Abenondwa. Thank you very much, and we wish you a wonderful celebration.
Happy feast. We count on you to help stop the spread of coronavirus.
And we are doing just our best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just a while, ma'am. Let's go to the Northwest region, where 30 underprivileged women have received startup kits of groundnuts, buckets, and packs of sugar to enable them begin small businesses. The donation is offered by the Northwest Delegation of Women's Empowerment and the Family to assist the women get financial autonomy. Karin Tosam reports from Bamenda.
They have been trained on the production of items like powder soap, bleach, and soya beans balls, known locally as soya bean zakra. Among them is a mother of 5 who says her skills in the production of what is locally referred to as groundnut sweets, a byproduct of groundnuts, will help her to meet the needs of her family.
I can make this groundnut and be selling it, so that if I have money, I can buy the pencil, pen, books, clothes. And when they are going to school, I can make some of them and give to them to go and be selling in school, so that they should help us.
Others say they are already reaping the fruits of the training.
At first, I was keeping 100, but during these 3 months, I have been keeping 200 to 300. With time, I have to increase the space.
I'm going to do my marketing online. They've taught us how we can do bookkeeping in order to track records, track losses in the course of doing our business.
Plans are also in view to continue training women on ICTs, entrepreneurship and functional literacy, and registration is open at the Bamenda 2 Women's Empowerment Center.
And about 80 women of the Yaoundé 6 Council area have been trained on the protection or the production of solutions like liquid bleach, both hand gel, liquid soap for both household and commercial purposes. This is an initiative of the Member of Parliament for Yaoundé 6, Honorable Yeba Judith Meno, in partnership with 300 Women Voices for Development Association. The training comes on the heels of the 2021 Women's Day celebration. Paul Onela Nzana reports.
Drawn from diverse backgrounds, the women of Yaoundé 6 municipality have benefited from a training on how to fabricate productive sanitary solutions for household use and to be financially autonomous as well. According to the initiator of the project, Constance Kamga, the activity is intended to empower the women in peace building and fight against poverty as they gear towards the celebration of this year's Women's Day. While presiding at the event, the Member of Parliament from Fundi 6, Honorable Yeba Judith Meno, saluted the move by the 300 Women Voices for Development Association.
We are thinking that since COVID-19 pandemic has come back, we are training them to produce COVID-19 preventive items in order to enhance the fight for the COVID-19 pandemic.
However, the women have been enjoined to make good use of the skills acquired and also transfer their know-how to their peers in order to enhance development in their locality.
As we've heard already, today March 6 marks exactly 1 year after the first coronavirus case was confirmed in Cameroon. So the question is, 1 year after, how has the struggle to halt the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic been in the country? For answers, we go over to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center to meet Baldwin Sama and his guest, Dr. Joseph Fokam. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Benin Bumagana. It was exactly on the 6th of March 2020 that we had the first confirmed case of COVID-19 in Cameroon. 1 year after, we have more and more persons who get tested for the coronavirus in the country. What general assessment can we make of for the fight against the spread of COVID-19 in Cameroon 1 year after the first case was confirmed to the country? Let's discuss that with our guest, Dr. Joseph Fokam. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Baldwin.
1 year after, what general appraisal can we make of for the strategies put in place to limit the spread of this virus after the first case was confirmed on the 6th of March last year?
Effectively, Baldwin, 1 year after, I think we can make several observations, among which we have two major outcomes. The first one, we realized during the beginning of the pandemic, the population were really afraid of this new viral infection. And also, during this beginning of the pandemic phase in 2020, we also realized we had the first wave during the month of April, May, June, and subsequently the country was able to control the pandemic evolution due to the barrier measures put in place. Then recently we realized also the population, they seem no more to be afraid of the virus. There is no more any respect of barrier measures, and what we are seeing as a lesson during these last 2 months, we are already having the second wave in Cameroon, and this second wave may be a persistently long wave. And why? Because people are not really respecting barrier measures, and we really want Cameroonians, from the experience we had during our first phase and the response put in place, we really want everybody to go back to those barrier measures. Why? Because in just 2 months' time, we have recorded 8,000 cases, new cases. We have never seen this before.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Fokam, for being available. We have to respect all these barrier measures to avoid this second wave from persisting in the country, given the increase in the number of persons tested positive for the coronavirus in Cameroon lately. Back to you, Benin Bumagana.
And thank you very much, Baldwin Sama from Camer. Let's go over to the far north region, where a further 5,000 Nigerian refugees at the Winawao camp are going back home to Nigeria after several years in Cameroon. It was a great experience, as we hear in this report by Ebenezer Akanga.
This is the second time within 1 month that the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, is coming to the far north region on esteemed instructions of the head of state regarding preparations and repatriation of Nigerians in the Minawao refugee camp. There are 5,000 refugees who have willfully decided to go back to their country. The terms of their return were spelled out in a tripartite accord signed on February 7, 2021 in Marwa by the governments of Cameroon, Nigeria, and the UN Refugee Agency.
Nigeria's obligation is to provide buses. The buses, 22 number of them with 48 seaters capacity, a total of 906, with an ambulance, 2 fuel trucks, a recovery vehicle, arrived the governor's office of Marwa since 25th February.
Apart from logistics, the health protocol is being respected.
I'm quite aware COVID test is currently going on in the camp. Vaccinations have been received. Vaccinations for the animals and the rest have been received. So with COVID clearances, when they go to the border of Nigeria, our port health system will also examine those certificates and do rapid thermal tests and the rest.
According to the Nigerian official, the Nigerian government has taken measures for the socio-economic insertion of the returnees.
Banki is coming on board. The houses are ready to accommodate these returnees because government took special emphasis to rehabilitate the houses. The houses are now ready. They are going to live in new neighborhoods.
The first group of the refugees, made up of more than 5,000, will leave for their country in the coming days at a ceremony that will be supervised by the Minister of Territorial Administration.
A Cameroonian based in the Central African Republic has been arrested for robbing a Chadian businessman of 40 million CFA francs after drugging him. He was arrested in the Bebda in the Central region where he was hiding by a coordinated operation of the National Gendarmerie and International Police Organization, Interpol. BrigadeAntiSardinard completes that story.
Adraman Mahamad, this Chadian business person, trusted Robert, the Cameroonian nurse in the red t-shirt, whom he invited to treat him at home. Hinted that his patient had money. Robert administered sleeping pills and made away with 40 million CFA francs.
I gave 2 doses of the Sepam to the patient to make him sleep, so I took the money.
Medical tests discovered formol in the blood of his victim. Robert then escaped to Cameroon, but his brother had to pay the price or help track him down.
It's an operation that started at the Central African Republic at Bangui, where the relatives of the victim got in touch with Interpol, the office of Bangui. And via the relatives that are here, we could get the phone number of one of the friends. We arrested the girl, and she gave us the exact position of the so-called murder at Ebebda, where we could arrest him.
He is charged with attempted murder and robbery and has to face the law.
It is with that report that we come to the end of the 7:30 news edition today. Thank you very much for following. At 8:30, Karine Olive Yabi will be here with the news. I will be back tomorrow for what is making news in Cameroon and around the world. Good night.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.